as someone who considers himself predominantly plant-based and been eating this way for about like 3 years, I definitely enjoy seeing how much more accepting it is, and all the creativity of food that's being created and all the new selections in the supermarket. Although it's a really good thing, it also always comes with its downfall, and I really think that it's really easy to border along the lines of thinking that just because it's vegan that it's healthy, and that's not necessarily the case. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 items that you may actually think are healthy or just a healthier alternative that may actually just be just as bad as the regular thing. The first one is vegan ice cream. So I was never really an ice cream person growing up, but the one thing I didn't actually pay attention to was looking at the ingredients label in the back. And one thing that I actually started doing more of is avoiding anything of what it says on the front, but instead going just straight to the back, because that's where you'll actually get the information of what it is you're picking up. So one thing that I thought was healthier was vegan ice cream, because it didn't have the eggs, it didn't have the heavy cream, it didn't have the milk. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, I don't have to worry about the same issues, because I didn't even know that ice cream was something you ate to gain weight. And I remember when I learned that people eat ice cream to gain weight, that I was like, nah, I'm not eating ice cream no more. But when I went vegan at the time, I didn't think I would have those same issues, so I was like, oh, I could eat ice cream now. But one thing that I didn't take into consideration was the amount of sugar in ice cream. It would have so much sugar in it. The thing with sugar is that it contributes to weight gain, and it contributes to like skin issues. So if you're someone who's trying to monitor your weight or trying to take better care of your skin, one thing to do instead of getting vegan ice cream is to simply just have some frozen fruit and make ice cream yourself. So when it comes to making it yourself, I've seen different ways of making it. The one way that I found to be good and simple to make is by just simply using my blender. However, if you have a food processor, you could also use that as well. And what I like about vegan ice cream of making it yourself is not only do you know the ingredients, they're very simple ingredients. If you compare making your own vegan ice cream to buying vegan ice cream or even buying regular ice cream, it's tremendously different of the type of ingredients in it. And I think the less amount of ingredients, the more ingredients you know how to pronounce, the healthier it is. The thing is, when it comes to things like ice cream, especially when they're already put together, they have more ingredients in it to preserve their shelf life and for whatever else they have in there. So if you're someone who likes ice cream, instead of buying a vegan version ice cream, or if you want to cut back on your animal products, instead make your own, which really only consists of the fruit of your choice, either coconut milk or almond milk, some sweetener of maple syrup or vanilla extract, and blended all together. The next item is plant-based meat alternatives. So for me personally, plant-based meat was definitely something that came in handy when it came to transitioning out of eating meat. However, I don't really consider it to be something that you have often, especially because it's still a processed food and it tends to contain a lot of sodium in it. So one thing that I did a lot when I first transitioned to eating plant-based was I bought Beyond Meat burgers, I bought the Impossible, I would get breakfast sandwiches, and they were all really good. The only thing was that it was still a processed food and it still contained a lot of sodium. So when I started to want to cut back on the plant-based meat alternatives, I started eating more mushrooms just because I felt like it had that same type of flavor and texture I was looking for. And another thing I did was look for burgers that had more vegetables in it. So one item that me and my boyfriend really enjoy is getting Dr. Praeger's. I don't know if you've ever had it, but I believe they have it in Costco and we've seen it in Trader Joe's. Honestly, I quite miss it. But Dr. Praeger's is a really good alternative type of burger. Now, if you're someone wanting to transition from eating less meat, that may be a huge transition because the texture and the flavor profile is different. But when it comes to transitioning out of plant-based meat, one alternative to do is have either Dr. Praeger's or switch to having more mushrooms or bean burgers. The next one up is vegan cupcakes. So I only mention this one because I'm not really a sweets person, but I mention this one because anytime I go to Whole Foods, there's always these vegan cupcakes in the aisle with the hot food, and it always intrigues me because I'm like, oh, vegan cupcakes. And every single time I turn the container around to look at the ingredients, the list is like the intro to a Star Wars movie. And the thing that irks me a lot of times is when there's a certain meal or certain food that you know the basics of the ingredients, you know that it only takes about like 5-6 ingredients to make, but yet when you're buying it from a store, like the list is long as hell. And it really bothers me because to me that is not food. Anytime when I see a list of ingredients where the ingredients is taking up half of the back of the box, to me I'm not eating food. I'm literally just eating a whole bunch of things that have been combined together to form this thing, but I'm not eating the actual thing. And it reminds me of the scene in The Matrix where he's like eating the steak and he's like, I know this steak isn't real, but I feel like it's real and I'm enjoying it. And I think that happens to a lot of the foods that we eat, that it looks like one thing, it literally looks exactly like what we think it should be. But when we look at the ingredients in it, it's nothing of what should be in a regular type of thing that you would usually get of the same item. When it comes to different types of desserts and snacks, really think about all the ingredients that's in the container that you're about to pick up. And instead of getting it from a supermarket, get it from an actual bakery, because they're going to end up using actual ingredients and they're going to use a less amount of ingredients than they would if you was to get it from a store. Next one is vegan flavored yogurt. Those little containers of yogurt, when you look at the amount of sugar in it, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of healthy gut. Because if I'm eating all of this sugar, it goes towards more bad bacteria than it does of good bacteria in your gut. And the whole purpose of having yogurt is to give yourself good bacteria. The thing that I've realized when it comes to any type of flavored yogurts is it'll usually say like strawberry flavored or blueberry flavor, but not all the time does it actually have strawberries or blueberries in it. And then on top of that, it also contains a lot of sugar. So one thing that I've done instead is buy a plain yogurt and then add the fruit myself. Because not only am I getting the actual fruit, I now get to control the sweetness, and I use honey for when it comes to sweetness. And I get to have different things added to make the yogurt good without destroying the nutrients that I could get from it. So instead of buying a flavored yogurt, just buy a plain yogurt and then add your own fruit to it rather than buying flavored types of yogurt, because they tend to have a lot of sugar in them. And the last one is granola. So I really love granola. One thing that I honestly can't do is have yogurt without granola. I've tried it before and it's just not that fun. So one thing that I've learned to do is pay attention again to the ingredients that's within the granola. So for me, the less amount of ingredients, the better. And the more amount of ingredients, the more I feel like it actually takes away from what that food actually is. So if you're someone who really enjoys granola, one thing to look at is the amount of sugar in it. Because if you're gonna have granola and it has all of these like things in it to make it nutrient rich, like oats, nuts, all that jazz, the last thing you want to do is now also giving yourself a lot of sugar from the granola, but thinking that you're eating something healthy and you're still not understanding why you're still possibly having the same health issues. So one thing to pay attention to when you're picking up granola is to look at the ingredients in it and also look at the sugar and the salt quantity in it. One thing that I also like to do is just make my own granola. Like, I used to think that it was gonna be complicated, but it's really not. The only thing that would be costly is the nuts, but if you're buying a bigger bag, it'll honestly end up being cheaper than the actual bag of granola, because granola itself is like $4, $5 and change. But if you're buying the ingredients for the granola, you can make a bigger batch. So those are the 5 vegan friendly foods that I honestly think are sometimes can be confused as healthy when they're really not, and different alternatives that you can make to make sure you're getting the healthiest version for yourself. Definitely let me know which one stood out to you and which one you're gonna try, or which one that you didn't realize was possibly not as healthy as you thought it was. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.